And John Swinney to wind up the debate. John Swinney.
Presiding Officer, the First Minister opened this afternoon's part of the debate by recalling the horror of last Wednesday's events in Westminster, and I open the conclusion of this debate with those same sentiments, and they're a reminder of the significance of the democratic process that beats at the heart of our community. And that's what this debate has been about. It's been about a democratic discussion and difference of opinion. And democracy cannot thrive unless there is difference of opinion. There must be contending propositions that people put forward. And that difference is at the heart of the democratic choice that every citizen has to make and every politician has to consider and wrestle with. And of course, those sentiments were anchored in the debate by three very strong contributions from Bruce Crawford, and Murdo Fraser paid warm tribute to Bruce Crawford's speech, but then chose to ignore most of the sentiments in the speech that he delivered to Parliament just now, or in the speech by Ruth Maguire, which I thought was a really considered reflection on the need for there to be respectful debate about issues of significance to the future of our country, on the beautiful speech that Kate Forbes made, which drew together the great Gaelic tradition of our country and expressed it so powerfully to Parliament about the importance of fair and open discourse within our country. And that is the debate we've got to have. And I appreciate, and I am on the receiving end frequently, of social media comments and political comments that are hostile and aggressive, and I know that other people are too. But we have a duty in this Parliament to try to lead by example about the quality and the depth of the debate that we take forward, and to wrestle with the genuine choices that face us all. And that brings me on to the crux of the starting point of this debate, which is about whether or not there is any mandate for the Scottish Government to take forward the proposition that we're putting before Parliament this afternoon for there to be a second referendum on the question of independence. And I go back to the wording of our manifesto in 2016, which I would remind Parliament was supported in the constituency ballot by 46.5% of the electorate in Scotland, the largest share of the vote that any government has been elected in the United Kingdom with since the mid-1960s. A huge mandate, larger than the mandate that returned us in 2011. And that manifesto said the Scottish Parliament should have the right to hold another referendum if there is a significant and material change in the circumstance that prevailed in 2014, such as Scotland being taken out of the EU against our will. And the reason why that is significant is because we all know, whatever side of the argument we were on in 2014, we all know that the question of EU membership was a fundamental question in the debate in 2014. And the No campaign made the point, clearly and firmly in my own hearing around the country, that the way to guarantee Scotland's membership of the European Union was to vote no. Now, Scotland voted no, and our membership of the European Union has been taken away from us against our will. Of course, I give way to
Pauline McNeill.
But based on that logic, then, there's been a material breach and you have a mandate. But surely then the question that you would want to put to the Scottish people then is an independent Scotland within the EU. And I don't hear you saying that.
Deputy First Minister.
That is the position of the Government, and that is my position, and it's the position of my party. So I hope that clarifies the matter for Pauline McNeill. That then brings me on to the reconciliation of the outcomes of the two referendum in 2014 and 2016. And in this respect, if Joanne Lamb would allow me to make a little more progress on this question, that brings me to the contributions of Andy Whiteman and Jackson Carlow, because I think in a sense they wrestled with the same question. Andy Whiteman said that the outcome of the 2014 referendum and the outcome of the 2016 referendum are incompatible without a further choice being exercised. And I think there's the rationale that supports that. Jackson Carlow made a contribution, I think in response to an intervention from my colleague Stuart McMillan, that in 2014 his constituents had voted no, in 2016 they had voted remain, but they had somehow lost. They were not to get the outcome in 2016 that they actually voted for in Mr Carlow's constituency or in Scotland. So the point is that there is an incompatibility, as Mr Whiteman said, between the outcome of the 2014 referendum and the 2016 referendum, which for me is the rational justification for us to ask this question again to the people of Scotland. I'll give way to Mr.
Jackson Carla.
But in wrestling with that incompatibility, I said that I have taken the decision, and the constituents have taken the view, that we will respect the outcome of both referendums. It seems that the Scottish Government's response is to accept the outcome of neither referendum.
Deputy First Minister.
What we've acknowledged is the incompatibility of those two outcomes and seek to give the people the choice to determine their own future. Now, that brings me on to the efforts that we have gone to as an administration to try to resolve these questions. And when the Prime Minister came to meet with the First Minister in July of 2016, the Prime Minister made it very clear that she wanted to secure an agreed UK position before she triggered Article 50. And Parliament essentially argued for many of those aspects when Parliament on the 28th of June argued for us to explore a relationship that would maintain Scotland's place in the single market with the social, employment and economic benefits which flow from that relationship. The Joint Ministerial Committee has in its remit the desire to seek to agree a UK approach to objectives in the Article 50 negotiations. And the Scottish Government published Scotland's place in Europe, I would say to Parliament, to very, very wide endorsement across many, many views out with the Government and supporters of the Scottish National Party as being a very strong and legitimate approach to try to secure compromise. And pillar by pillar, that agreement was pulled down by the UK Government. Single market, on migration, on the customs union. So we're left with a situation where we as a government have in good faith gone through a process of trying to secure agreement which would maintain the benefits of EU membership, accepting that we're leaving the European Union within the United Kingdom, and the UK Government as evidence from the fact that we have got absolutely nowhere in the process of joint ministerial discussion to get to a conclusion. I'll give way to
Ruth Davidson.
I would like the Deputy First Minister to comment on good faith when any efforts that were made post-Brexit from this government became after his leader and the First Minister of this country stood up in Butte House and said within 3 hours of the last vote being counted in the Brexit referendum that she had already instructed Scottish Government employees to draw up the requisite legislation for another independence referendum. She was always coming to this point and nothing was going to stop her.
Mr Swinney.
That might suit Ruth Davidson's narrative, but it's not the case. And it didn't stop. And it didn't stop. And it didn't stop the Prime Minister. It didn't stop the Prime Minister coming to Butte House after that statement and inviting the Scottish Government to make its contribution to the UK Government process. But what has not protected us has been the decision of the UK Government to go for a hard Brexit, which many, many Leave voters didn't actually want to happen. And what we've seen is, stage by stage, the opportunity for the Scottish Government to make progress on this question being ruled out by the decisions and the actions of the UK Government. And why does all this matter, Presiding Officer? Why does this matters? Because of many of the experiences that I went through as a member of the Smith Commission with a number of other members around about the parliamentary chamber. Because we spent hours of our lives agreeing the importance of improving intergovernmental relationships so that there would be a better way to get to an agreed UK position. And what this process has shown is that was not possible with the way in which the United Kingdom Government embarked on this process. Now, finally, we come to the issues, Presiding Officer, about which for me is at the heart of the debate about whether or not the referendum should take place or not. And that's about whether or not the country, about what type of country we want to live in and what type of society we want to be part of. There's been lots of accusations made against my party about the fact that we apparently are people that divide others. That's been the accusation made across this chamber. Claire Adamson made a remark in the debate about the way in which the term othering has been used in UK debate. And if any of us, all of us, have heard many individuals dividing our country with the accusations against migrants and EU nationals, people that today we need to work in our public services and in our companies in our country who provide invaluable contributions to our economy. And division has been sown by those who have spent years arguing against the forces of migration which have been beneficial to Scotland, and we should be grateful for that. Alec Rowley made a very fine speech in the debate. I think
you can take it at one more intervention.
Joanna.
I wonder if the Cabinet Secretary would share my concern in the othering that's going on in this country right now that implies that everyone right across the United Kingdom, apart from Scotland, is uniquely unconcerned about the question of refugees and EU nationals. There are plenty of people right across the United Kingdom who would agree with us, and it is unhelpful to redefine the rest of the United Kingdom as somewhere beyond the pale.
Mr Swinney.
I'm absolutely certain there are people across the United Kingdom. I read their comments in the news media and on social media, deeply dispirited by where debate in the United Kingdom has got to. The question, and this is where I come to Mr Rowley's fine contribution to the debate, is what do we do about it? Because Mr Rowley said that we can't allow the Tories to dictate the terms of a hard Brexit. And I unreservedly agree with Mr Rowley in that respect. But we are being marched step by step to a hard Brexit and over the cliff by a United Kingdom government that is not representing the values and the aspirations that brought me into politics. And I make no apology for defending those values and those aspirations because they matter deeply and personally to me. And the crucial thing is I want to do something about it. I want to make sure my country has the opportunity to shape its future, devoid of that awful agenda that has contaminated political debate in the United Kingdom, that has been fuelled by the Conservative Party in its determination to see off UKIP. And I want to make sure that we build in this country the best possible future for our country, and we can best do that with the powers of independence.